Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, we've been getting a lot of questions about AI and meetings and how to really make the most of our time. And, well, you guys sent in some really cool stuff about this tool called ActionPoint, so we thought we'd do a deep dive.
Yeah, ActionPoint is really interesting.
Yeah.
It's different from a lot of the other meeting tools out there.
Mm.
Most tools rely on having like a bot in the meeting itself, but ActionPoint works after the fact.
Yeah, and it analyzes your recordings, right? Like it listens to everything and then tells you what's important.
Exactly. It pulls out like the key decisions, action items, that sort of thing. So instead of having to like scrub through an hour-long recording, you can just get the highlights.
That's pretty awesome, especially for someone like me who, tends to zone out in meetings every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, who
Yeah.
doesn't, right? But think about it this way. With ActionPoint, you're not missing anything. Even if you're not fully paying attention, the AI is there capturing everything, and then you can go back and easily find the information you need.
Okay, that's making a lot of sense. And the other thing that caught my eye is that they say it works with pretty much any platform, like even WhatsApp, which is
Yeah.
kind of crazy, right?
It is pretty wild. Most meeting tools are tied to a specific platform like Zoom or Teams, but ActionPoint is totally platform agnostic.
So how does that even work?
Well, they use something called the browser API to record both your microphone and your computer's audio.
Okay, and that means...
That means it can basically work with any platform that runs in a browser. So Zoom, Teams, Google Meet, even those quick chats on WhatsApp, Web Action Point can capture it all because it's recording at the browser level.
Wow, that's some serious flexibility.
Yeah.
And they also brag about their transcription accuracy, something like 99.6%, right?
Yeah, which is really impressive.
Yeah.
Most transcription services are lucky to hit like 90%.
So how do they get it so accurate?
Well, they're using 12 different ASR engines, including OpenAI's Whisper, which is one of the best out there. And then they use AI to kind of cross-reference and fine-tune the results.
So they're not just relying on one AI, they're using a whole bunch of them to double-check each other.
Exactly. It's like having a team of expert transcribers all working together to make sure you're getting the most accurate transcript possible.
So, okay, we've got this super accurate transcript. What happens next?
Well, that's where the real magic happens.
Yeah.
ActionPoint takes that transcript and turns it into a searchable project.
Searchable. So I can just like type in a keyword and find exactly what I'm looking for.
Yep. It's like having a Google search for your meetings. No more wasting time scrubbing through recordings. You can just find the information you need in seconds.
That's pretty slick. And they also have this feature where it separates out the different speakers, right?
Yeah. That's really helpful if you're in a meeting with a lot of people. You can quickly isolate and focus on specific contributions.
So no more trying to figure out who said what.
Exactly. It's all neatly organized and labeled. And then on top of that, they use AI to generate summaries of the meeting.
Summaries. Like it tells me the main points without me having to read the whole thing.
Yep. And not just any AI. They're using 15 different AI engines, including ChatGPT, to really get the best possible summary.
Wow, they're really throwing the whole AI arsenal at this thing, huh?
It seems that way, and it makes sense. They want to make sure you're getting the most accurate and useful information possible.
Okay, so we've got accurate transcripts, speaker separation, AI-powered summaries. That's already a lot, but it sounds like they have even more features, right?
Oh, yeah, they got a ton of other cool stuff, like the ability to choose which AI models you prefer for research, which is a nice touch for those who like to be in control.
So you can really customize it to fit your needs.
Exactly. It's not just a one-size-fits-all solution. ActionPoint is really trying to adapt to the way you work.
Okay, so now I'm even more curious about this action point thing. It sounds pretty amazing, but all this talk about recording meetings is making me think about something else.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
What about consent? Like, is it ethical to record all these conversations without everyone knowing?
That's a great question and a really important one, too. Anytime you're dealing with technology that involves recording people, you have to be very careful about consent.
So how does action point handle that?
Well, right now, they require the user to manually trigger the recording, so it's not happening automatically in the background.
So it's kind of like hitting the record button on a Zoom call?
Yeah, exactly. It's up to the user to make sure everyone in the meeting knows they're being recorded and that they consent to it.
Okay, that makes sense. But doesn't that also put a lot of responsibility on the user? Like, what if they forget to tell everyone? Or what if someone feels pressured to consent even if they're not comfortable with it?
Those are all valid concerns.
Mhm.
And honestly, there's no easy answer. It's a really complex issue that we're all still trying to figure out as a society.
Yeah, technology often moves faster than our ethical frameworks, and we're left playing catch-up.
Exactly.
Huh.
We're constantly having to ask ourselves, just because we can do something, does that mean we should? And in the case of AI and recording conversations, the answer isn't always clear-cut.
So it's a balance, right? On the one hand, you have the potential for increased efficiency and accessibility, but on the other hand, you have the responsibility to ensure that everyone's rights and privacy are being respected.
Exactly. And that's a conversation that we all need to be having as these AI-powered tools become more integrated into our lives.
So let's turn it over to you, our listener. What are your thoughts on all of this? As you explore these new tools, how do you plan to approach the issue of consent in your own meetings and conversations? It's definitely something to think about.
Absolutely. And speaking of exploring these tools, ActionPoint is actually coming soon to the Microsoft Marketplace.
Oh, cool. So if you're intrigued by what you've heard today, be sure to keep an eye out for that launch. And in the meantime, we've included some links in the show notes where you can learn more about ActionPoint and its features and even find some exclusive offers.
And while we're talking about accessibility, they have this other really neat feature too.
Oh, what's that?
It's a mobile app called ActionPoint Translator. And get this, it does real-time transcription and translation.
Like as you're speaking.
Exactly. Imagine you're in a meeting with people speaking different languages. This app can transcribe and translate everything in real time so you can follow along even if you don't speak the language.
Wow. That sounds incredibly useful, especially for, global teams or anyone who works with people from different countries.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It could be a game changer for breaking down those language barriers.
And they say it works with over 50 languages, right?
That's what they claim. It's pretty remarkable what they've been able to achieve with AI-powered translation.
Yeah, it's amazing how far this technology has come. And they even have an audio translation feature too, right?
Yep. So if you're someone who prefers to listen rather than read, or if you have difficulty reading, the app can actually read the translations out loud to you.
Okay, that's really cool. So we've talked about a lot of the positive aspects of ActionPoint, the accuracy, the features, the accessibility. But I think it's important to also address some of the potential concerns.
Definitely. And I think one of the biggest concerns with any tool that records conversations is the issue of user consent.
Right, like is it ethical to be recording people without their knowledge or permission?
Exactly. And it's not just about legality, it's about respect and transparency. People should have the right to know if they're being recorded and how their data is being used.
So how does ActionPoint address this concern?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, they require the user to manually trigger the recording. So it's not something that happens automatically in the background.
So the onus is really on the user to make sure everyone in the meeting is aware of the recording and that they've consented to it.
Right. And that's where things can get a little tricky. Because what if someone forgets to inform everyone? Or what if someone feels pressured to consent, even if they're not entirely comfortable with it?
Those are all valid points, and it highlights the fact that technology often outpaces our ethical frameworks.
It's true. We're constantly having to adapt our understanding of ethics and privacy as new technologies emerge. And AI in particular raises a lot of new questions and challenges.
Yeah, it's not always a clear-cut answer, and we have to be really thoughtful about how we use these tools.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need to be mindful not just of the capabilities of the technology, but also of the potential consequences, both intended and unintended.
It's about finding that balance between innovation and responsibility.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's something that we all need to be thinking about as AI becomes more and more integrated into our lives.
So let me ask you this, as our listener.
hmm
What are your thoughts on all of this? How do you plan to navigate the issue of consent as you explore these new AI-powered tools? It's a conversation we all need to be having.
It really is. And it's not just about meetings either. This whole conversation about AI and consent, it's relevant to so many different aspects of our lives.
Absolutely. Like, think about all the AI-powered tools we use every day, from social media algorithms to facial recognition software to personalized advertising. It's everywhere.
Exactly. And as these technologies become more sophisticated, more integrated into our lives,
Yeah.
it's more important than ever to have these conversations about ethics and responsibility.
Yeah, we need to make sure that technology is serving us, not the other way around.
I like that. Technology should empower us, not control us.
Right. It's all about using these tools thoughtfully and intentionally and being aware of the potential consequences, both positive and negative.
And it's an ongoing process, too.
Mm.
As technology evolves, we need to constantly reevaluate our ethical frameworks and make sure they're keeping pace.
Absolutely. It's not a one-time conversation. It's something we need to be thinking about all the time.
And talking about, too.
Mm.
We need to be having these conversations with our friends, our families, our colleagues, our elected officials. It's a societal issue that affects all of us.
Exactly. So let's keep this conversation going. What are your thoughts on all of this? How do you see AI shaping our future, and what role do you think ethics should play in that future? Share your thoughts with us on social media. We'd love to hear from you.
And in the meantime, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking those tough questions. It's the only way we'll ensure that technology is used for good.
Well said. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive into Action Point and the ethics of AI. Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure. Until next time.
Keep diving deep. Oh,